Hey, Mike here. So yesterday we left off with the paste URL into selection. Let's start off today with periodic notes. I love this default way of formatting with a year, month, and day. As for my daily journal template, let me show it to you here. It's extremely simple. All I have is a tasks section and then my days chronicle where I have corny names for each of these sections: triumphs, obstacles, novel ideas. I don't know, it just sparks something in me to write something for each of these sections. So hey, whatever works for you, right? Now, I do want all of my daily notes to go into my journal folder. I do not use weekly notes. I do not use monthly notes. Honestly, I don't use any other notes except for the daily note. Again, these are amazing in theory to have this kind of weekly summary, but I could just get AI to do that. But also, it's not really beneficial for my specific situation. Again, if I ever do want a summary, I'm just going to use AI and build it from there. Now that we have cleaned up the daily notes section, let's move on to plugin update tracker. I really like waiting 3 days before I am shown that there are new versions available. This gives time to fix any early pushes, bugs, or God forbid, hacks of any kind, and for the most part keeps me up to date with how everything is progressing. Same thing when it comes to beta versions. I love beta versions of anything really, except when it has to do with my direct knowledge vault. While I do backups, I still don't want to play around with my own information when it comes to beta versions. Moving on to reading time, let's see here. Reading speed, that sounds about right. I'm not sure how to even measure my reading speed. If anyone knows about a tool that is able to measure your reading speed, I'd love to know about it in the comments so I can adjust this more accordingly. As for the settings in recent files, everything looks pretty nice. I would like to set this to 100 instead of 50 just in case. Moving on to Roll Over Daily Todos. I like to keep them in the tasks portion of my daily note. Now, I don't remove empty to-dos because sometimes I do like to organize things a little more neatly, and that does sometimes end up with a blank to-do item just so I can move things a little bit around. It's hard to explain, but if you know, you know. Now this next option, I'm not sure why this is the default, but by default, only the actual to-dos are rolled over. I do want children of the to-dos to be rolled over. So yeah, I turned this on. And again, this next setting kind of defeats the purpose of this plugin. Of course, I want this to happen automatically whenever I open up a daily note. How else would I do this? But yeah, other than those two little peeves I have about this plugin, everything else works just fine. Moving on to smart connections. Now I do want to group by the nearest file, so I'm going to turn that on because especially when you have a lot of headers, it may become very spammy with how many times the same file is shown to you. So this certainly helps it a lot. When it comes to the table of contents settings, I do want the minimum header depth to be 3. Or wait, actually, I do want it to be 1. I want the main title to always be first, and then, yeah, to 6. Okay, never mind. I thought that this was set up differently. Moving on to templater, we have all of our templates within the template directory. Now, one change I do want to make here is I don't use databases anymore, so I'm going to delete this. And when it comes to templates, I'm going to rename this 3 templates. At some point, I'm going to get to moving text generator into here. Actually, let's do that right now. So I'm going to head down to text generator settings, and it should be within the advanced settings here. Perfect. So I'm going to pop this into 3 templates / text generator. Cool. Now we can move this folder into here, and that should be good now. Let's test it out here. If I do a / cool, it shows up. Now let's finish off the templater settings. Everything else here looks just fine. I do want to explore more of this script file capability within templater. I'm going to bookmark this documentation for soon use. Now this is very interesting, enabling user system command functions. I would love to think that I can run things like local versions of Whisper, or even more excitedly, local LLMs in general. That would be something to write home about. So going to turn this on just so I don't forget. Let's see. Oh yeah, show binary location. You can use bash. Perfect. Wow, you can have functions and then have system commands happen because of them. Yeah, that's next level. Moving on though, text extractor. Let's see here. English. I don't really work with any other language for the most part, especially when it comes to OCR, so we're not adding anything else. We have a right-click menu. That seems fine. Moving on, text generator. A lot of these I've already set to fit my special criteria. So I don't see myself making too many changes here, except for, of course, the change we just made to the prompts templates path. Everything else looks just fine. Max tokens is fine. Temperature, these are my custom temperature settings. I do want my generations to be a bit more logical than creative, but that's, again, my case. I still hate the auto-suggest. I tried it again 2 days ago, and no thanks. Although, I will say one more thing about this. I want this to be good so badly. I would love to have auto-suggest options, very similar to how it works within GitHub, or I'm sorry, Copilot. If you have VS Code open, let me show you an example here. If I have, this won't work here, but if I try to create a new definition, I'm able to have, as you can see, autocomplete right away. Fortunately, this does not work the same here. Here it works very similar to how I would say Notion works, but even Notion does it much better. This just needs a lot more work. Auto-suggest on text generator needs a lot more work. But hey, I can't complain. Everything else works wonderfully. I don't see the need to have custom instructions as of yet because I do primarily work within templates, but that might change sometime in the near future because I do want to try one fits many solutions when it comes to generation, but we'll see. I would suppose that the custom instructions that you put in here would be the same ones that you put into, let's say, a ChatGPT instance. So you can try it out yourself, of course. I will try it as well in the, like I said, near future. I would like a local whisper setting here that I can point to the whisper binary on my system. Everything else here looks just fine. Let's move on to tracker. So again, as I mentioned in the previous video, I do want to try out Tracker a bit more before I remove it from my workflow. I think that it might be useful. That's why I haven't deleted it yet because, again, I haven't given it a fair chance. But that's also why I'm not going to change anything here in the settings because it won't do anything for me anyway. Moving on to Vim RC. Now this would be nice. I do want to see my Vim chords. I don't really care about seeing my Vim mode. And that's about it. That is all for today. So not bad. We did this in a matter of 3 days. I've just been a bit swamped with work and travel lately. But of course, none of that matters because I sincerely love making these videos every single day for all of my audience, but especially for my patrons. Thank you so much to all of these amazing individuals that you see on the screen right now. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again tomorrow.